I'm Matthew Sue, and this is the process speech. Today we're going to talk about how a computer works. Computers work by processing data that is input into the system to get output data. And to understand how it works, we got to talk about what's inside a computer. Components of a computer are the power supply, the motherboard, the processor, the RAM, the hard drive, the disk drive, the cooling system, and the keyboard. First, we're going to talk about power supply. Now, power supply takes the wattage from your wall outlet, converts it into a usable amount of electricity for the computer components. There are many different types of power supplies available because there are many different power ratings for the components in a computer. Anywhere from 350 watt power supply up to 700 watt power supply. The next step in the process is the motherboard. Now, the motherboard is what all the components of the computer plug into. The motherboard controls all these components through settings that are stored in a semi-permanent memory on the board itself called the system BIOS. This controls things like the system time, the order that the computer boots from via the hard drive or the disk drive or a USB port. Next is the processor. Now, the processor fits into the motherboard and processes all this data that we have going around the computer. There are all kinds of different processors for all different kinds of power ranges, and we've even in recent years figured out how to incorporate more than one processor into a computer. We have dual core processors and quad core processors, which will double or quadruple the output available. Then we have the system RAM, or random access memory. And what this is temporary storage for the processor so that it can take some data from the hard drive or the internet and process it through the system to get our output data. And input and output data can be anything from audio to video, clips, text, web pages, all kinds of fun stuff. The hard drive is where the computer stores all of its memory for programs and web pages and documents that you have on your system, anybody else's system. Hard drives can be all kinds of different sizes and are expanding at a very rapid rate. Just in the last 2 years, they have more than doubled in capacity from 500 gigabytes. What we have now available are 1.5 terabyte hard drives, which are 3 times that original size. They've done this by incorporating more disks into a smaller space in the hard drive, allowing us more writable area to keep our data. They've also increased the speed at which these hard drives operate so that we can retrieve our data faster. Next part of the computer is the disk drive. And these disk drives are usually either CD drive or DVD drive. There are several others that are more often than not used in mainstream computers. But CD and DVD drives allow you to read from and write to mobile CDs and DVDs, which are mobile storage units that allow you to carry your information from your computer to another computer somewhere else, and also work with some electronic devices that are on the market. Another very important part of the computer is the cooling system. This is something that most people generally forget about when they're thinking about a computer. There are three main types of cooling systems that are employed. First is forced air system, which is accomplished by having a series of fans set up to create a negative airflow to push the hot air out of the unit, or a positive airflow which pulls cool air into the unit. And this can be done with anywhere from 2 fans up. Another type of cooling system is a water-cooled system, which has a water reservoir that's cooled by an external source and then piped into the component, or into and through the components of the computer. The third and least common type of cooling system is something that was pioneered by Piaget, which is a company here in the U.S., and they have taken a computer and dropped it down in a fish tank filled with mineral oil and have achieved an amazing amount of cooling on the system itself, optimizing the components beyond either of the other 2 cooling systems. Now, our last part of the computer that is required is the keyboard. And the reason that the keyboard is an absolute requirement is that most computers will not start without one plugged in. The keyboard allows you to enter text and manipulate your data that is stored on the computer. So, we have learned today the different components of a computer and a little bit about how they transfer the data around in the system. Thank you.